and welcome to Discriminating Gamer, the board game review show that was always a little more Camille Desmoulins than George Danton. Ladies and gentlemen, in this paid preview, we're going to go ahead today and take a look at Machina Arcana. In Machina Arcana, 1 to 4 players are going to take on the roles of various explorers as they move through a deep dungeon and attempt to resist the rising tide of darkness that is seemingly engulfing the world. Essentially, players can play as one of 4 of these different explorer characters. Now, these explorers all have different traits in the game. For instance, they have armor. Armor is going to be what, of course, protects them from various physical attacks. They have will, which protects them from various kind of arcane or magic attacks. You have your health, of course, which tracks your hit points. But then you also have 2 very important attributes you're going to use through the game. You're going to have stamina, which anytime you move or take certain actions, you, of course, have to spend your stamina. And then you also have essence, which is kind of like your magical abilities, which you are going to have to spend in order to do certain other abilities in this game. Now, this game is going to play out in different scenarios that are divided up into chapters, and they're leading toward an end game in most scenarios. And what you can do is there's one of the tiles that says kind of it's the end game tile. You set that aside until the very end. You randomly start with one of the other tiles provided, and they're all kind of different layouts of these kind of dungeon areas. Now, the map tiles themselves have different areas. They have they have walls, doors, of course. They have things like exploding barrels that you can hit them and deal damage to people that are around it. You have traps you can fall into. You also have other spaces you can interact with. You have a recharge station, which is a kind of a space that will allow you to kind of reset your stamina. You have chests and you have workbenches, and these will allow you to take different items from the different decks. There are 4 different kind of item decks, and it kind of give you, I think the workbench gives you a little bit more selection, a little more options when you select from those decks, whereas the chest still allows you to gain items, but you're a little bit more limited in how you can go about doing that. There are also event spaces on the board. The event spaces can help you to kind of restore your essence, but they can also let you draw from a beneficial event deck, which may help you and your friends along your journey. Now, the game is divided up into 4 phases. First of all, you have your Explorers phase. Now, during the Explorers phase, the Explorers can move in any order, so you can decide what's most advantageous for who to go when and where. It is a co-op, after all. So you go ahead and you figure out who's moving. Now, as I say, as you move, as you interact with certain items, you're going to be spending both your stamina and your essence in order to do that. And when you're kind of finished, you go ahead, you drop your stamina to 0. You're not going to take any more. You're not going to be able to do any more actions until everybody is gone and you moved on to subsequent phases. As soon as everybody has finished with their explorer phase, you move on to the next phase. Now, in the spawn phase, each player is going to roll a spawn dice. Each player is going to roll this dice, and if what they come up with is equal to or greater than the spawn rating on the chapter board, which kind of sets the whole scenario, you are going to essentially spawn monsters. You're going to put monsters on or next to these spaces and get the monster card out in front of you to see exactly what its attributes are as well. Next, you have the horror phase, where only one player rolls a dice. Essentially, here what you're doing is you're rolling a dice to see whether or not you draw a kind of a horror event card, which again are these nasty, evil things that can happen to the explorers in the game. If the die roll is equal to or greater than the current horror rating, then of course you draw one of those event cards, those evil event cards, and you resolve it. Finally, the 4th phase is the monster phase. Essentially, you're going to kind of in the order of the monster queue, you're going to go ahead and activate the various monsters who are going to move around the board and attack the heroes and try to take them down, engaging in mean and nasty combat. Now, once you've completed that, you go ahead, you go back to the Explorers phase, and you repeat the phases all over again. Now, it's possible for Explorers to die, but if you're an Explorer and you die, you are not eliminated from the game. That is to say, you essentially become the player who controls the various monsters. If more than one player dies, then the other players can control various monsters as well. So essentially, you and your friends go around and around, activating your characters, using your stamina and your essence to kind of fulfill your certain actions and attacks. You are then, of course, spawning the monsters. You are seeing whether or not you have the evil events, and you are moving the monsters around, attacking the explorers. You continue to do this until you, of course, get to the final end battle. If you can resolve that, then you win Machina Arcana. But that is just a very brief overview of what this game offers. You've got just a mountain of different cards, of item cards. You have all the sorts of weird steampunk contraptions that you use in this game. There's all sorts of monsters, and this is kind of a Cthulhu mythos-inspired monster gallery here. So there's tons of these different kinds of monsters, each with their own individual stats and unique abilities. There's also, as I say, many different map boards, so you can actually explore, move into different areas, open up different map boards as you move toward a tile. I think you spend so many essence to create a new map, if I recall correctly, a new tile on the board. So there is a lot of variety here. And if this sounds like a game you might be interested in, the Kickstarter will be up here, I believe, in a few weeks. We'll go ahead and we'll let you know when it's up. We'll place a link in this video. And if this sounds like something you're interested in, you'll go ahead and check out that Kickstarter. Thank you once again for joining us today on The Discriminating Gamer. As always, we ask you to please leave a comment for us on YouTube, on Board Game Geek, on our Facebook page, or on thediscriminatinggamer.com. We ask you to please like us on Facebook, subscribe to us on YouTube, and follow us on Twitter. We are The Discriminating Gamer, and better Danton and De Moulin than a Robespierre.
Please somebody help me on my feet again, and I don't know where I'm going, and I don't know where I've been. Please somebody help me on the solid ground. It's a long time, and I'll be dying. Once a year I wind up in the band.
My nephew told me that one, and I thought that was stupid at first, but then I got it.